I'm gonna have to come up here and decide that you're the last one in.
I just noticed that.
Yeah, if it's not there, she'll bring one.
Yep.
Hey, Johnny, you work.
Sonny got a new job. Good morning.
He did come talk trouble. Raise his own name, baby.
Popcorn Lenny.
Morning.
Yeah.
Is this now order?
Yes, they are waiting. They're coming, but they're waiting on a part.
Okay. I knew last time you said it was something wrong with this one.
Yes, those two don't work, or maybe, yeah, these two do.
Okay.
We've troubleshot things. We've had a laptop plugged it into that. They've remoted in. They're coming, I think, October 6th.
Hopefully.
That's when the part's supposed to be here. So. Okay, you are recording and live on YouTube. And mics are going. We amended the agenda, and I didn't tell y'all that I amended the agenda, but you see that it's been amended. It was posted and we're amended. I just didn't email you that.
Well, that come.
I'm going as fast as I can. Those work. And I think. It does not appear the handheld works. Talk loud.
Real loud.
Talk real loud.
You know we do.
Yes.
Robert, did he say anything about teeth? I've got teeth out there for that bill. In case-
No, the wheels are cracking out.
I've still got a couple, 3 boxes out there. Jason bought
You
me.
use it every morning?
He's known it all the time. They put that car on. Ain't got nothing.
That's about it.
That's attractive.
All right. Good. Yeah, good, stays busy. Morning, Robert.
Good morning, Jim.
How are you?
Hi, I'm sure I do.
Whatever.
I think I'll go this week. I would check. Morning, Judge.
Morning, Mike. You have a good weekend?
Sure did. It was too short.
Yeah, and not enough rain,
It was too short.
but this cool weather is so welcome. Oh.
think we need a sign-in sheet.
Put one up there. Ray, there's a sign-in sheet by the door. It's not? Okay, well,
I thought maybe she brought it.
yeah,
There's that sign-in sheet if you want to talk.
yeah. Well, you want to talk, son? Otherwise, let me get kind of pad or something. Well, wait for Carolyn. It's 8:58. Good morning, Craig. Thank you for the information on that veteran. I had a call about it this Friday I need to follow up on.
You're muted, Craig.
I know, oh, yeah, I knew it was. I was just speaking to him. While we wait.
Yeah, we sometimes you can't help them.
Yeah, we're in a public meeting, so let's not talk too much about it. I just wanted to thank you for the information.
Certainly.
For the benefit of the court, I've asked someone from Gulfway School District to attend because of this CRF grant discussion, and they'll be here via Zoom.
Morning, Gerald.
Good morning.
Morning, Kelly.
I'm sorry. I said, how are you?
Good, good. Don't hear very well this morning. My ears drum.
Well, it's,
My ears,
for some reason,
everything's echoing.
echoey in here.
Yeah. I hear double every song this morning. So if I don't answer, I'm not mad. I just didn't hear you.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. This is Mills County Commissioners Court regular meeting, September 28th, 2020. We have a quorum present in the courtroom. We have Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Guerin, Commissioner Hall, and Commissioner Williams, and myself, the county judge. We also have County Attorney Gerald Hale and County District Clerk Carolyn Foster and County Treasurer Trina Busby. We have present via Zoom Craig Wright, our Veteran Service Officer, and as usual, I can't make out the screen in the Sheriff's Department. It's probably Tina and, okay. And we have present in the courtroom, Ray Cohen, who has signed up to speak. We have the Gulfway Eagle via Zoom, Sonia Scott's on Zoom being administrator. And I expect a representative from Goldthwaite Consolidated School District to join us via Zoom. So with the quorum being present, let's stand for the pledge and a prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Williams.
Dear Heavenly Father, be with us today as we do the business of Mills County. Guide us and direct us in our actions. Father, bless this country, bless this land, bless this county. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, first item on the agenda is review of the minutes of September 8th, 14th, and 18th that are in your package. I've reviewed them and assume everybody's had a chance to look them over. Are there any comments or corrections?
On one of the dates here, wrong in special meetings, I think it should be September the 18th instead of the 19th. It's the only thing I see.
Where in the minutes is that?
It's on the 9/14/20.
Okay.
Second page, it says here that Commissioner Hall moved to hold a special session on Friday, September the 19th, of 2020. That should have been September the 18th.
Yes, thank you. That's a good catch.
That's the only correction I see.
Are there any other corrections or comments on the minutes? Well, is there a motion for approval with the correction on the minutes of, we have a motion, a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, audience with individuals. Ray Cohen has signed up to talk about tax abatements. Mr. Cohen, your choice would be to talk to us now, or if you would prefer to wait till we discuss the guidelines and criteria, I can call on you then. Okay. Next item on the agenda is approving accounts payable. This is item 4. These were circulated electronically Friday afternoon. If you have questions, I have a few. I've got to find them.
I have one on the bonds for Sonia to go to the, do the Mills County have to pay for both of them, or does the district court pay for one of them?
Mills,
Has to pay for both of them. Okay, that's fine.
and we should see a partial refund on the current bonds that are canceling. When you buy these bonds nowadays, I believe it's for the entire elected term. So there'll be prorated refunds on the unexpired term. I had a question on precinct 1, Mike. It said cone signs, and I was just wondering what that was.
What it is that I've never had any road work signs or barricades. I already negotiated the low water crossing this year, and I had money saved over for road materials. What those are is the cones, but you put the sign mounts down on them instead of, and so I bought signs for it and barricades. And I think that total was $1,300 something dollars.
So you got an assortment of road signs? Or?
Yes, sir. I have no road work signs. I bought some of those. I've been borrowing them from Robert. Barricades, I've been borrowing from Jason in precinct 4, and I bought a barricade. And then I bought these cone signs. And Also, we're getting a lot more traffic out here on our county roads in precinct one. These cone signs, your question. Jason has bought a bunch of cones and these signs are so big and I've got more ahead signs.
So they'll just fit in a standard cone?
Yes, sir. Just been on the side of the road and they run over them all. The signs are plastic too. Hopefully they won't tear those up. They won't hurt the cones. So that's the reason I went with the cone signs instead of the signs that stand on the stand. That's what that cost is.
Okay. Good. That'll come in handy. Ms. Busby, I see a couple of cost centers that are showing things called supplemental insurance. What is that?
So a lot of times I don't put those in this report. That is just money that's been taken out of people's paychecks and then it's just paid the bill.
Oh, okay.
Nothing that the county is actually funding.
Got it. Are there any other questions? Is there a motion for approving the accounts payable for payment?
Make a motion to approve the accounts payable. Pay bill.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, accounts payable are approved. Next item on the agenda is number 5, multiple line item transfers. This is, you have to remind everybody, our fiscal year ends Wednesday on September 30th. Ms. Busby, would you like to walk us through what we're doing here?
They're just mainly more line item budget amendments, some from general fund, some from health, court, business court. The grant fund, it's more into that, and that's coming in. And then the special budget one is to do with insurance for precinct 4 and the maintainer. And that's about it.
And I tried to get that bill in Friday and we still, they don't have it finished and they don't have that deal done, so.
Yeah, so I don't really even know that I could do that budget amendment unless they would get the bill out and say, give me all the money.
Okay. So we have 3 more days to maybe get
Try to get
there.
it in the same year.
Okay,
We've already got it
right.
And they told me though Friday that it's already starting to be reassembled, so I'm hoping that maybe by this week we'll have it back even, so the way he sounded. But, you know, it took you, 2 weeks, Robert, to get yours, so
I had the same situation, Jason, with the sign bill with Lorena trying to get them in time to offer this. So, and she called and requested a bill. So we have that.
So I tried, I just can't guarantee it, but I understand what she's wanting to do for audit purposes, to get it in and out of the same year.
She made me, Jason. I don't want to deal with you.
It's okay. Do we have a motion on approval of the line item transfers?
So moved.
So we have a motion. I'll second it. All in any motion in a second to approve the line item transfers. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the other thing, it's a separate item and a separate motion, is the special budget amendment. This is the insurance proceeds and the maintainer repair. Is there a motion for approval of the special budget amendment? We have a motion from Commissioner Gearing. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is approved. Okay, we are down to number 7, resolution for approval of the MC Bank loan. This loan was originally taken out by the county in 2016 in the amount of about $332,500 as a portion of the cost of building the community center. Over the years, it's been renewed on an annual basis with principal reductions. The current balance of the loan after this year's principal reduction is $162,100. The bank has agreed to renew it for another year at that balance. We had a little discussion over the interest rates. The agreement is that it will have a no floor on the interest rate. So the concern mid last week about a potential rate increase has gone away. And to do the renewal, we need a resolution from the court to renew this indebtedness of the county. So are there any questions? I'd move approval of the resolution regarding the renewal of the MC Bank loan for a year.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the resolution, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next item on the agenda is a resolution regarding the Infrastructure Fund Grant Program. This has been in court a number of times. We commonly refer to it as CTIF. It's run by Texas Department of Communication. As you recall, they initially allocated about $65,000 to the county and encouraged us to apply for more. And we applied for, as I recall, several $100,000. And the final approval is $76,000. Now, the next step, they want a resolution to accept the $76,154. They want a signature on the grant agreement. And then within 30 days after we sign the grant agreement, they want a revised project list that'll come back to showing how we're going to spend the $76,000. It's not going to be a big problem because we have a list of $225,000. So we have 30 days. And I'd propose to just let the commissioners do it. If we need to schedule a work session, can do that. And y'all just pick the projects that come down to $76,000. The agreement says we can amend this thing once we turn it in. So it's not set in stone forever, but to get started, we have to have projects that come up with the grant.
Is there any money involved on this grant matching it? Anything?
Yes, there are, but it can be done with work in kind. So if the in-kind work could be, say it's your project, your equipment and your road hands out there doing some of it, you run your machine rate, your hourly labor rate, and that's our contribution. So it's really, it can be done so it's money that's already in the precinct budgets. Is there a motion to approve the resolution regarding the CTIF grant?
I make a motion that we approve the resolution for the CTIF grant agreement.
Okay.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Just give 6 on the agenda, Judge.
I'm sorry.
6?
He did it.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. No, I did skip it.
No, he didn't.
Let's see, CRF. Okay, the 6 was the special budget amendments. Yeah, we've done that. And we've done now. So we had unanimous approval. Commissioner Guerin, were you voting for the CTIF grant?
No.
Okay, so we have a unanimous approval on the CTIF Infrastructure Fund Grant Resolution. Next item, number 9, is the annual cybersecurity course enrollment with TAG for Mills County. Ms. Busby, is this, we did this last year. Is this something we do every year?
Yes.
So if I got trained, if I took the course last year, I have to take it again?
Yes.
It's okay. It's an
We had it
annual.
till like July, and
Yeah.
I think this year we did it like in January, so I mean, we could wait a few months, but. not
Okay.
get it done.
So every county employee's got to,
Do it Every year,
every
Once a
county
year.
employee with access to a county computer, right?
yes.
Okay.
There is a certificate that's issued with that. I guess everybody, you received those?
Yes, I mean, I can get just an email that shows who completed it and who didn't, instead of me actually getting a copy. of
I
the
know
actual
they sent
certificate.
me one, turned it in.
Yeah, and some people did, but even if they didn't give me their certificate, I could get a list showing who completed it.
Okay, this is free. It doesn't cost anything. We just need approval to sign up for the free course again this year, and I'd move approval. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Where are we? Oh, 10. Resolution for TDM Emergency Management Grant of $24,861.45. This is approval to a grant that the county's been awarded. This grant goes back a ways. I think I remember discussing this with the sheriff last year, might have even been in our last year budget, but the grant was to fund half of the cost of a county employee that was the provided administrative support to your emergency management coordinator in cases where the emergency management coordinator was an elected official. Well, in Mills County, the sheriff is the emergency management coordinator. Tina Ellensworth is the assistant or the administrative support for that program. So this number is half of the salaries and benefits associated with that position. That's the background on the grant. If there are any questions, see the sheriff's office is online. I'm sure they'll be glad to answer them. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the TDEM budget grant of $24,861.45.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's approved. Number 11, consider an act on the CRF grant funds for county schools. Ms. Busby and I'll give a little bit of background, and Janice Benningfield is on Zoom for Northwood Independent School District. You recall back at sometime in the spring, there was a federal grant. It was called the CRF grant. It went directly to the big cities. And then for everybody but the big cities, it all went to the state. And then the state parsed it out through TDM, Texas Department of Emergency Management, based on, I think it's $58 per head of population. Went to the cities and the counties, and then about 20% of that, might have been 25%, was directly wire transferred into our bank account. And the balance of it was available to, once that money had been spent for a list of approved purposes, was available to be drawn down. All of the purposes related to the coronavirus situation. The money we have spent here in the court area in Mills County have been things like the sneeze guards in both courtrooms, so the audio video capacity for the meetings, the temporary staffing to screen people when they're coming in for court sessions, mask, that's kind of a high level of what we've done. There's a provision that you can also pass the money through to certain other entities in your jurisdiction, whether it's hospital districts, schools, anything for similar purposes. That we hadn't done any of that. Last week, or maybe it was the week before, I got a call from Ms. Benningfield saying, how much should we give into the school district? And I've said, none. which was factually true. And she was filling out a grant application related to the school district. And later, apparently the form wouldn't accept none as an answer. To qualify for whatever grant the school was working on, they had to receive money from their taxing, well, from the county or the city that had received the CRF grants. So that led back here, and more or less at the same time, our treasurer received a request from the Pretty Independent School District for funds. So the decision before the court, and this isn't enough information yet, this is just background, is to do pass-through funding of CRF money, grant money, to school districts. I've asked Ms. Busby to give us a high level, how much money we got in the grant, how much we've spent, what's available. So if you can fill in and anything else that I missummarized or omitted, go right ahead. And
Okay.
speak up, please, because your microphone's dead.
Oh, okay. So the total amount that we could receive is $153,450. Our advance was $30,690. I have turned in expenses today of $35,133.44. So the education falls under the 25%. So 25% of the 153 would be 38,362. You don't have to spend that 25% on education. That's just where you can spend it. It's in this 25% category.
And what was that figure one more time, please?
38,362.50.
Has all three school districts requested, or just two of them? County?
Just 2 is all I've heard from.
Now, so of the 35 we've spent, they funded 30. So we've then put in a reimbursement. We've provided backup for that and asked for another 5. Is that where things stand now?
Yes, we have not received that other 5 yet. They're still having questions as of Friday on the backup I sent for the first 30. So I still have some of that to answer. And we've also spent a little bit more than that we haven't been billed yet, and that's what we spent to update the courthouse.
Okay.
Down in the basement, the IT stuff.
Just a couple other points to mention under the terms of the original grant. The money has to be, it's only good through December 31st of this year. So there's no carryover. Whatever you spend, you spend. Whatever you don't spend on December 31st, barring some legislative change somewhere, is gone. The school districts tell me that they have a September 30 deadline to apply for their grants for their distance learning they're trying to use this money for. So those are 2 important dates to keep in mind. Are there any? Yeah, that's Wednesday to be exact. So that is what led this to be an amended agenda item.
And so the other thing, it looks to me like whatever they spend on their total bulk order, if the TA is already funding 50% of that, and then they are funding the other 50. Janice, you need to correct me if I'm wrong. But then if we give 25%, that the TA will fund the rest of it, and then the schools wouldn't actually be out any money on that particular part. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So let's go to Ms. Benningfield since can you tell us what the school district is proposing to spend the CRF money on?
And the CRF money is
actually, we've already spent it. We've spent it on devices for students, devices for teachers, and hotspots for students that didn't have home internet access. And when TEA did a Operation Bulk Connectivity is what they called it, they put all the school districts together and we were eligible to purchase products at a reduced rate. And those products that we received totaled a little over $22,000. And so the district's 50% match was the $10,720 that you're seeing on our form from Region 4. And so the contribution that we're asking for is toward that 50% match that the school district made. TEA does have another grant available to help fund whatever the county doesn't of that amount, if that makes any sense. But they want us to check with the county for funding first, and they would not let me zero that out. They told me if we had not asked the county for monies, we were ineligible.
If we approve an amount, we would need to have invoices or something that we could use then to back up our expenditure of the grant money to head off a problem down the line when we are ultimately audited on them. Ms., you have that already, Ms.?
From Goldthwait, I do, yes.
But does that show we spent it on
This is the
hotspots, we spent it on tablets or whatever? I mean, is it, and who it went to?
Yes, this is an invoice to Goldthwait ISD for AT&T hotspots and iPad 7th generation.
Okay.
And the total of it is their portion was $10,720.
Was any of this in your budget, Ms. Benningfield?
No.
That's an important consideration. You cannot use the CRF money for money that you had budgeted.
Right.
The issue, one issue I see is we have 3 school districts. They're all different sizes. The money came to the county. We need to find a fair way to allocate it. So whatever amount we're talking about here, there's got to be some math that says, okay, that means Pretty and Mullen, to the extent they have projects that qualify, we are setting aside this much money to potentially do that.
But it doesn't reply to us, won't run, so.
Right. Now, what happens if they, I was nonplussed at how literally the Pretty request came in late last week. Yeah, this request from Goldthwait, started off a little bit sideways, but it's been maybe 2 weeks. So, it could come in day after tomorrow. Now, at some point, we still have the money. Apparently, this September 30 is a TEA problem. It's not our problem. Well, how would the math work out if we need to take the 25% less what we think we've spent and split it up? I don't know, the only number I remember is from the coronavirus reports on the first day of school. It showed Goldthwait with somewhere just under 600 enrollment and Pretty just under 200. And I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember the Mullen enrollment.
I mean, so far, I've tried to, all the money I've requested, I've tried to put under that public health expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more than
Okay.
75% category.
Okay.
As
So,
long as they approve it as a 75% expense.
Mhm.
That's a little,
which was the guidance we've received verbally, but you never know till you get audited.
So what was the figure at the beginning? You said it was like $58 per person in the county or something like that? Is that what you said, or no?
It was from memory. It could have been 59, but it was $58 times the county population, less whatever amounts went to the cities based on their population. So like, let's say it's just round numbers. Mills County had 5,000 people. If Goldthwait had 2,000, round numbers, that leaves 3,000 times 58, probably minus 175 for Mullen and 200 and something for Pretty. So that was how that initial number of 153,000
Yeah,
was
but Pretty,
developed.
Pretty can't be counted. They're not an incorporated city.
You're right.
They
So
should
it
be
should,
counted
they're not. So it's just Mullen
and go.
and Goldthorpe. I'm sorry, that was my mistake. But their school district still qualifies to come to us this way.
We get the same numbers that way using their student enrollment.
Yeah.
And that's probably about the fair way to
That's
do
what
it.
I was going at, Mike. I think you and I are on the same page there. That's what I was.
To me, that's what.
So we just take our money and allocate it based on student enrollment.
Yeah, that's the way I'd say it.
I mean, that's a squishy number. So, I mean, we're going to have to say first day or official as of something. And yeah.
Well, they gave numbers to you on that first day, so.
Well, no, they turned them into the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can use those same numbers.
Sure.
And I don't have a problem funding those money. Evidently, we're gonna have some left over.
Yeah.
Evidently, so, you know, if we can help our school districts and our kids in our community, why not?
I agree. So anybody want to take a stab at what sort of motion we make? Right, I think what we're being asked by the districts is they're the ones that are in a rush. They have to turn in this application by Wednesday. They want, and help me with this, Janice, it's either a letter or a certification from the county saying we have put aside, not we're funded, but we're just allocating X dollars of our CRF money for them. So
Yes.
I don't have a problem writing that letter based on approval from the court, as long as we can come up with the number.
Well, like the same situation with that, Judge, I think you should negotiate those numbers. You know, once you receive them or get them, then like you and Kalina get together and negotiate for the court. If so much per student, like we agreed on. And whatever you feel that number is.
So just to put words in your mouth, that would be a motion to approve the county judge and treasurer to allocate
Negotiate those, yes.
well, not only negotiate, we're gonna have to sign something allocating the from the 25% of the CRF grant, proportionate to the relative enrollment of the three school districts.
Sound like a good motion.
Okay, well, I just, yeah, it's not, because it's not only negotiating, we're gonna actually be signing something.
Yes, I understand.
I was thinking,
Well, I'm glad we have a video recording. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Benningfield, is there anything, does this get us where you're trying to go?
Yes, sir. It's actually an application that I have to attach that letter to, and then I have to fill in the amount that the county agrees. And I want you to know up in front of all of this, if Tarina has expenses, she and I have talked extensively about this. If she has other expenses that come out of that 25%, just in case another district is listening, they are eligible to pay for other things out of that 25%. That full, whatever she gave, $38,000 that is 25% eligible, doesn't mean that that $38,000 will be split among school districts. There could be other expenses that come out of that.
Yeah, we're very much aware of that. We will set aside, I mean, I think that'll be the core allocation, but I think we'll probably also focus on how much you and Pretty and Mullen need for their specific projects, not to exceed that allocation.
That's wonderful.
I don't want to make this more confusing than it already is.
Okay, go
The county
ahead.
actually has some other school districts that are located within portions of the county.
There is property in the county that pays taxes to other school districts.
Correct.
Brooks Smith, Lolita, and
Hamilton County got some, don't you?
Loleta,
Mhm. Okay, we will, but if we're talking, yeah,
You know, one's requested, there's gonna be more probably.
There's only two
thank you,
left.
Mr. Hale.
I'm glad I helped.
Yeah,
You beefed it up.
Should it be this actual schools located within the county?
that's the way I'd approach it.
To me, that's the way I do it too. To me, just, that'd be the fair way to do it.
And only if they request it.
Yes.
Only if they request it.
Now, of course, we're discussing this on YouTube, so everybody will know about it.
Sure.
Yeah. So we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Penningfield.
Thank you.
Thank you, Court. Number 12, holiday schedule. We've got a list. Basically, we're proposing the same number of holidays as we have this year. I think even the stuff around Christmas falls on a Saturday. So that looks the same. There's some discussion we're having with the treasurer's office. This will get, I think, more appropriately reflected in the handbook, has to do with when employees get the floating holidays based on our experience this year. And there'll be language like, okay, if you're new, you don't get them until same time you start accruing sick days, which I think is 90 days. And then if you're here, you get one of them in the first half of the year and one in the second. I mean, I think we had instances of people leaving early in the year and wanting to get paid for 2 floating holidays. Had they not been floating, had we left them on Martin Luther King Day and something, they wouldn't have got them. So we're just saying, okay, let's make it simple. You know, don't accrue day one. You get them when you start getting them, when you get eligible for sick pay. And you get one the first half of the year and one the second half of the year.
And now just to clarify, that is not what we did this past year.
Yes.
You were already an employee, you got them on the first of the year. But
It's
what I
something,
did do was people who hired on after the second half of the year only gave them 1 day instead of 2. If their 90 days started, became August 1st, then I just give them the 1 floating holiday. That's really where I've had a problem, not really with people leaving.
Okay.
I don't think I've had.
Yeah, now.
When you do something, you learn from it. And so this is a fine tuning. I think it's really
So the
minor.
employees that full-time employees will have to use one the first half and one the second half.
Not necessarily
No.
leave use, but be granted it. I'll grant 1 8 hours on January 1st, and we'll grant the second 8 hours on July 1st.
So they could use
They can
both of them.
roll, the first one can roll over into the second. half.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not gone. You don't have to
Yeah.
use it by that day.
Now, it also says supervisor discretion. So,
Yes.
everybody needs to manage their own departmental workflows.
how does that work? Supervisor discretion approval.
I think, well, if you're in the middle of a bridge,
Well, what I'm saying though, even if we have it in our handbook, give them one of them 6 months, one of them 6 months.
it's like you're in the middle of a bridge project. One of your hands comes up and says, I want to take my floating holiday
I
Wednesday.
understand that.
And you say, no, you can do it next
I
Wednesday.
understand that.
That's the discretion.
Right.
Not that whether or not they
Whether
can
they
take
take
it, it's when.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought they were supposed to give a 2-week notice.
Your discretion.
Well, that's true.
And that's everything to do is our discretion.
I made mine put it down the first day we got this allowed.
Trina asked that question.
Is there any other discussion on the proposed holiday schedule? And if not, would there be a motion to
I make
adopt
a
it?
motion to approve the 2021 holiday schedule.
I'll second that. So motion and a second on the holiday schedule. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The next thing is also scheduled. It's the Commissioner's Court schedule for next year. It's effectively the same. It's the second and fourth Monday of each month. There's no holiday conflicts. We run the calendar. And we list every Monday in August. That's budget season. There's things that can only be done at a regularly scheduled meeting, and then we'll cancel the ones we don't need.
Make a motion to approve the Commissioner's schedule 2021.
I'll second. Okay, we have a motion and a second from Commissioner Williams. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Sheriff's and Constable fee schedule.
Do we have a constable?
No,
No, it's just,
How is this on the
that's just
constable?
what it's, well, it's just what it's called, because it goes to the state.
I knew we don't have a constable. That's what I wondered.
We did once.
If we did one, say, we abandoned it.
yeah, there's only 2 counties in the state, Reagan County and Mills County.
We don't have constables, that's
I
correct.
did not realize that.
I just wondered why I had constable, too. That's just the form.
Yeah. My understanding, I assume this came from the sheriff's office, that this is unchanged from the current year's schedule. Tina, can you hear us?
That's correct, there was no change.
Okay. Anything you want to add to the discussion of the fee schedule?
Make a motion to approve the 2021 sheriff's and constable's fee schedule. as
Second.
presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Okay. Consider an act on rules for public hearing. We need to start having some public hearings to move forward on some tax abatement requests. But before we do, wanted to have rules in place. The rules are adopted by Commissioner's Court. These reflect the COVID restrictions. It addresses things like YouTube, Zoom, how to submit questions remotely. If there's provisions for people to show up in person, but acknowledging there's temperature screening and distance seating. There's the usual time limits on speakers that were the same stuff we use in Commissioner's Court. This is unchanged from what y'all saw several months ago. It has been to Jeff Allen at Wetzel and Carmichael in Sweetwater, who is our abatement counsel, who has reviewed it, says this meets all of the requirements for a public hearing under the current emergency orders by the governor. Mr. Hale's seen it originally. I'm prepared to discuss it, but would just say we need to, this is sort of step one in about a 20-step dance we need to do, and would just to get started, I'd move approval of rules for public hearing for Mills County. This is not public meetings, this is public hearings.
Before you make it, can I ask Joe?
You may.
Joe, you didn't see anything whatsoever?
Well, we talked about it 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Because I understand basically you're gonna have some people limited seating with appropriate spacing in the courtroom and Zoom or whatever. I think that meets the requirements. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
I'll second your motion,
Okay,
Judge.
so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now, the next thing it's just a discussion item on guidelines and criteria for tax abatement. Let me start with some preamble, and then we have some people that may want to speak in our audience. Now that we have rules, the next thing that the county will need to do will advertise and then hold a public hearing to adopt guidelines and criteria. So we're not adopting these here, but I think we ought to, when we advertise for that meeting, we ought to have something that the court is satisfied with. And so we're dealing then after the hearing with changes that come up as a result of the public meeting. Once, just to walk through the steps, once we do the public hearing to adopt the guidelines, then there's another advertisement and a meeting to designate reinvestment zones, and that's a public hearing. And then after that, the court designates a reinvestment zone and then can act in commissioner's court session, which with 30 days advertised notice to consider and grant tax abatements. So this is a multi-step project. It was rules. It's understanding and being on the same page with the guidelines. Then it's a hearing on the guidelines. Then it's a hearing on establishing reinvestment zones. And then it's a public meeting, which Commissioner's Court is a public meeting, on the abatement agreements with specified periods for advertising, notice to other taxing authorities, all spaced out along the way. So it is a drawn out process. I believe it's all outlined in here. Yeah, if you look at page 5, that whole process is laid out. We have guidelines and criteria in the past. I can tell you the difference between this, which our Sweetwater law firm has helped with, and what we've approved here since under the prior 2 wind farms, are we've included a application fee of $1,000, which is the most the state charges and what we're told every other county in Texas charges for an abatement application. We've also included the agreement that anybody applying for an abatement will pay for the county's cost of counsel to work on it, which is also standard practice, but wasn't in our former agreement. We have made it that each reinvestment zone will be specific to the area of a project. In the past, it was the whole county. So that's a change. Then this lays out all of the steps you have to go through on page 5 to grant an abatement. And that's a little bit of a change because the notice deadlines have changed in the law since the last time this was done. This thing has to be done every 2 years, or it can be amended at any time by Commissioner's Court, but requires a 60% vote. So instead of, a 3-2 vote, would have to do a 4-1 vote to amend it. That's a highlight of an overview. Look, Mr. Cohen, would you like to jump in here? You've signed up to talk about abatements.
Thank you, Judge. Looks like we're moving forward with at least 1 or maybe 2 or 2 generator projects. And it's early in the stage. Really all I'm asking for is to encourage the commissioners and judge to look at a perspective from a non-participating party. Someone that does not want to participate in the project. In particular, the smaller landowners that may only have 50 or 100 acres and their house is in the middle of it. The setbacks that are being proposed, as I understood from the prior meeting, is just insufficient to keep the generator noise away from those residences. So as you get calls or as you think about this thing, I think the setbacks from residences are the property lines, which I would certainly prefer to see it based on, should be considered and increased to an acceptable level for the non-participating guy. We've got people that own land here, they bought land, maybe they haven't built a residence yet. And so how do we handle that? You know, if you bought property up here, he's going to build when you retire, and then you wake up with a wind generator across the fence from you. I don't think that's really a reasonable position to put those landowners in. So that's really all I'm asking is the setback consideration is a primary interest to the non-participating landowner. They get nothing out of this except the tax contribution to the county and the school. But from a living standpoint, they get the brunt of it if you've got a wind generator sitting here next to you. So help those landowners, if you can look at it from their perspective on a small landowner that does not want to participate for whatever reason. Setbacks are the criteria, the big thing that we need to have increased to not just completely mess up that person's environment out there. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you sign?
I didn't, but I will. But I came in late, so it'd still be sitting back there.
What's the pleasure of the court? I don't mind.
It's up to you. Like I said, it's not on the sign-up list.
Not on the sign-up list.
Yeah, I mean, our rules are that you're supposed to sign up and turn it into the clerk before we start. So I'm sorry,
If I signed
Don.
up, Your Honor, it would still be sitting back there.
You're
Nobody's
supposed to
going
bring
back there to get
it,
it.
well, you're supposed to bring it to me, but I'm not doing that.
It's not there. I didn't sign up.
No, you
I
didn't
did
sign.
not.
Well, okay.
So,
I'm sorry, Don.
No, it's-
Anyway, the issue is, I mean, I understand the setback issue, but that's not what we're discussing here. These are the guidelines for what you consider for abatements in general. When we get down to having an application for a turbine project somewhere, then the setback issue is on the table, and it's a very valid discussion. But this would apply for wind turbine project, it would apply for a solar project, it would apply for the expansion of an existing business in the city of Gulfport.
Only difference in the abatement on the private business is 2 years instead of 10 years.
Yes. Now, that's for the expansion of a private business. If Amazon wanted to come here and build a warehouse, it potentially could be 10.
It gives you a chance to look over everything. I really haven't had a chance to look over the guidelines yet. So
Yeah. Well,
this is a discussion item anyway.
yeah, I mean, to me, the point of the discussion was to hear from court, I mean, because we can't walk around and discuss it too much among ourselves. If there's other thoughts, otherwise, I mean, the next thing to do on the schedule would be to schedule a public hearing on this. And then, because we cannot approve it until after a public hearing. But I think it would be productive to have the collective thoughts of the commissioner's court in the document we put out for public hearing. Otherwise, we'd have the public hearing, everybody thinks they're commenting on what we're considering doing. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, that's not what I wanted to do. So that's the purpose of this. Does anybody have any discussion of this document?
So let me clarify, the law firm that we hired in Sweetwater has looked at this.
Yes, they have helped prepare this.
help prepare.
The only thing that's in question about what I've looked at is on the reinvestment zone. I know this court 3 years ago approved the reinvestment zone for this county for 5 years. Now we're looking at trying to change it, and that's something that we'll discuss on it later on, I guess, once we get into it.
Well, I mean, we can discuss it now. The legal advice was that this was last done in 2017 and then some other 2019. Yeah. And then the 17 one is expiring. The 19 one did not have a documented public hearing with it. So the court discussed it, but whether the lawyers are saying.
The court approved it.
The court approved it.
That's correct.
But absent that required public hearing on the 19 version, that the 17, that it is of no effect and the 17 version has expired. And so we need to start over. Now, if you wanted to take the other argument and say the 19 version is in effect, even though we didn't have a public hearing, we can still amend it by two-thirds, whatever the vote is of Commissioners Court. So as long as 4 of the 5 of us agree that this is the way we want to go, we can go forward on that basis. So there's 2 theories that get you to the same place.
We have to correct that or approve it before we put this in place. Is that not correct on the reinvestment?
No,
On the guidelines?
no. It's whatever's done is done. So, I mean, there is the 17 and there's a 19 agreement out there. Or I'm making up dates, but there are 2 older. The older one was done with a public hearing. The newer one was not.
The same court did both of them, I guess. I don't understand missing the public hearing on the second one.
You know, I don't understand everything that's happened either. So that's where we are.
Okay.
But is your point that you would prefer that we go with the countywide reinvestment zone? Because if that is what you're saying, that's significant and we probably ought to talk about it.
Well, that's the concern I have. You know, this court approved that, Judge, and that's the only concern I have, that since this court approved that reinvestment for the whole county, and now we're setting in place where we're going to vote on that to change that, I thought that was in place for 5 years. That's on, and then when you bring the dates back up
I
about.
don't think 5 years was ever, I think it's 4 years.
This is a 4-year
Yeah,
thing.
it's
By
only 4
statute,
years.
you have to reapprove this every 4
You
years.
know, it's like it was 5 years.
But what the law firm tells me is that whatever was done when we granted the last abatement, I'm trying to think which one that was, one of the pretty projects, that was done under a reinvestment zone. That's grandfather. This doesn't apply, or pecans. This doesn't change anything the court's already done. This says going forward, this is what it is. So if somebody wants to come in with a new project, they have to do, we start with designating a reinvestment zone for you. Now, if we don't do that, then the requirement is you have to do all the projects in one investment zone on substantially similar terms. So we got to have more flexibility to do different abatement schemes by having different reinvestment zones for project. And that's what other counties do, is what I'm told. Mr. Guerin?
I think we have to be to this criteria if we want to participate in the pilot.
Or even if we want to consider.
That's the changing the way we collect on the pilot program.
Yes.
What you're saying. That's only issue there.
Yeah.
Based on investment. So I don't think we do the whole counties.
Because I know during that reinvestment, when we voted for the whole county here, one reason that this court did that, best I remember, was because the city of Gold Plate wanted to apply for a grant. And they approached us about having had the whole county under a
Also, in
reinvestment.
town, we didn't have the incorporated cities to apply for it. And so when we changed
That's when we
that,
changed it.
that's why we changed it, is so that.
So it would
everybody
do
in
the
town-
city too.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And so but what I'm getting from you, what you're saying is that we can still do the city, we just pick that as a new zone when
Yes.
somebody comes to us.
Yes,
That's the
yeah.
issue that I had to
Yeah.
start
But
with.
last time we didn't have that.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is saying that we're gonna pick the zones.
Per project. per application.
Turned in.
I think, Jason, I think the original one said the unincorporated portion.
Yes.
of the county was what we give the vet.
I believe you're correct.
And we would give that one to COS.com. We had, in that annex the city in that investment zone where to qualify.
And I think that's when we changed it in 19, didn't it?
Yes.
Correct. I just want to make sure
Well-
that, I'm like Mike, I want to make sure that the incorporated cities are protected too, if they wanted to come to, somebody wanted to build something in Mullen or something, or a warehouse in Mullen or something, but. So
Yeah, it would just be,
they would just
a
have the
specific
application
project.
is,
Yeah.
then they come back and we set the zone.
Right.
That's the zone.
Well, I read this over the weekend pretty extensively, Judge, and I liked it. I didn't see anything stood out there. I think we all changed much.
well, I mean, Commissioner Wright hit on, that's the big differences are the zone specific, the reinvestment zones, and the concept of the applicant pays for the cost of it.
Correct. That reinvestment bill is the whole
Yeah.
issue, I think.
Well,
So,
Then-
okay, let me ask this, on the application fee, where does that go?
to the county,
I know, but, I mean, just go to the general fund,
Yeah.
like fees and fines type thing?
yes. I mean, the clerk would collect it when they file the application, I assume.
So do you budget that? I mean, do you budget like you're gonna get one every year, or? when
Well,
you get
first of
one
all,
every
you're talking-
year, You have to amend the budget because you received that money.
It's $1,000.
Right.
A lot of times for $1,000 more revenue, you wouldn't in the budget.
You probably put it in miscellaneous fines and fees.
Yeah.
Okay, well, with that discussion, I will figure out the advertising schedule of the Eagle, availability of rooms, and start a process to schedule a meeting. The other thing I'd like to talk about with y'all while we're doing it is the guidance from the attorneys is that many counties hold their public meetings after hours because people can't come to the public meeting because they're working. I don't know that that's as necessary out here with fewer 9-to-5 workers, plus all of the technology that we're now using with COVID. We can't have, 80 people in the courtroom anyway. So the lawyers say they could go either way. There's no requirement. It just has to be available to the public. But obviously it's something we need to know before we start advertising for a meeting.
Well, I like the evening still. I think I'll give it a chance.
Didn't we try that on Jason on the budget to have one after 5 o'clock?
Yeah,
Still no
nobody
one
showed
showed up. I mean,
Yeah,
we-
this is,
we
this
tried it.
is, we're talking windmills. So I
But-
think
well,
we're gonna get a lot of people that-
I agree.
Yeah, except this isn't windmills. I mean,
Well,
this is, windmills is the next one after this one.
I know.
But,
I
okay,
understand, but it's still, in a lot of people's eyes, it's still gonna be windmills.
It's
Okay.
it's a big issue.
but, okay.
I still, my opinion is, I think it's gonna need to have it after 5, but that's just my opinion.
Mr. Hall, you have an opinion?
I agree with having one, at least one, after, maybe up at 5:30 in the afternoon, where people
Okay.
get off of work, they got time to come or go home and get on Zoom.
Yeah,
I think it should be during business hours instead of.
that's kind of where I was. What do you think, Mr. Karen?
Our track history of people showing up for after hour meetings.
It's-
Real good.
Very unreal.
Business hours to me, it's.
Our track record of people not showing up at all, been pretty short.
Miss-
I think we ought to have more public participation, like you said, but still, with the Zoom and everything else, those people got an awful job now, sitting in front of the computer. They got a smartphone, they can get on by Zoom and show you if they want to.
Well, again, to me, if I was, say, sitting in Ray Cohen's seat and concerned about abatements, that's not the guidelines that are the issue. It's going to be when project XYZ comes in for abatement,
Right.
that's when it starts affecting neighbors. This is more, I'd say, administrative, but, Mi- Mr. Hale, do you have a view?
Well, I guess my main thought is that anything that's in the courthouse after hours involves courthouse staff being here. It involves just the logistics of opening up the courthouse, opening up the courtroom, having the clerk, the treasurer, everybody present. Then you're talking about bringing in staff after hours, and which is the same situation you have like where you have a court hearing and there's some pressure to go past 5 o'clock. I know the judges don't like going past 5 o'clock because of those same issues. So I guess that would be my only objection to it. It's not just the public that's involved, it's the court administration, court staff that's involved also. Courthouse staff.
Mr. Karen?
In the past, we haven't had to put up with COVID-19. If we have an after-hours meeting, we're going to have to have people take a temperature, issuing masks, get the questionnaire and everything else, and that's going to add to the length of the meeting to get everybody in. We can't get that many people in anyway. I think we ought to do it at home.
The government next week's gonna drop all this stuff. Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, November 5th, right?
I understand, that is the issue, though, I agree with 100%, you bet.
Only way, if you're gonna have a public meeting, you can have a football field. Where everybody's at 6 foot apart.
Okay. Well, there being no further discussion, thank you for the discussion. We'll start moving forward. Number 17, consider an act to approve bond for county district clerk appointee for execution October 1st. Ms. Busby, the bond is being underwritten and prepared. Is that where we are?
Yes, we already have it.
How much is the bond?
It was in the
Three-
payables.
153, 135,
Yeah,
135 on each one.
That was the premium. That was the cost of it.
Each one was 135, I think is what it was.
This is in anticipation of we need to be in business on October 1st. The steps to have a clerk or any elected official is they have to be elected or appointed. They have to be sworn in. They have to fill out questionnaires and affidavits, and the court has to approve the bond. So what's here is to approve a bond effective Thursday.
Make a motion to approve the bond October 1st.
All I was gonna say is that I think we usually approve it like in December, you know, for the, we put it on the December's agenda for January 1 for the new elected officials and stuff like that. So.
But they're not taking off in January 1 either. This is.
Right, I understand,
Right.
you're saying we usually do it ahead of time.
Yes. Yeah, this is an unusual situation.
We usually did it on the first day. So when we came in to be sworn in on the second, we would do the one.
They're sworn in and then you're putting them on, and then whoever's the official signs on the paperwork.
Because they're not, until they're appointed that day, until they're sworn in, they don't work.
Well, yeah, and all these other steps.
Yes, and once we do
The
that.
bond, the swear in, the forms, yeah, and at the same time, people.
This is for October the 1st.
October 1st,
What you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm- Make
Yeah.
a motion to approve it.
I'll second,
Thursday morning, keep you sworn in.
right. I second Commissioner Wright's motion. to approve the bond effective October 1st. Is there any discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Commissioners' requests and reports. Commissioner Wright.
We just been busy with road work, and it's moisture, so we can blade. I've had several calls, people want me to blade roads, and like I said, we just haven't had the rain out in our area. I'm not putting the blade down, so it's a little moisture. That's all I have.
Commissioner Guerin.
We've been waiting on road to get work on. Clearing roadways and stuff like that. I've got one man out there, he's out, they think needs to be replaced. So I'll be on the one hand to load, so that's all I.
We're still blading roads. We're still running every day with the blades. We've kind of shut the brush cutter down for a little bit, but we will go back with it as soon as we get to blading. And we've bladed everything. I guess everything west of 16. We're going to go east of 16 and finish it up this week, and then we'll be back on the road work.
Commissioner Williams.
We've hauled material, we've been doing some blading, mostly around the Big Valley area, where we've had the most moisture, I guess you could say, or this holding moisture. I want to apologize and thank Jed a little bit, but I didn't call him back last week. My uncle had a major heart attack, and so he is still in hospital. And Jed checked on me every minute and called my wife when I didn't answer and stuff like that. So I want to thank Jed for checking on me and my family. So, and then I think everybody knows we had some man, and there is a report in San Saba County that tried to tear up the Regency Canyon Bridge. And so it is now shut down, waiting on reports from engineers out of Austin. They have been there, they have done their assessment. And the way I understand it, I think they're coming back for another assessment, maybe with some more people. We all know TxDOT, and they have to get together lots of times and make decisions. The big thing, the question is what did it do underneath the bridge? Because it did move that I-beam underneath the bridge. And so they don't know if it broke the straps or anything underneath the I-beam of the bridge. Already had some vandalism out there on the bridge after the fact with their trying to get rid of our barricades and cut the locks and stuff. That happened this weekend. So,
Anything on them cameras?
yeah, you too. I got you two commissioners on them.
With bolt cutters.
We went and looked at
We
it.
don't want bolt cutters.
I didn't think there was that much damage to the bridge personally.
Well, that where it attaches
that's what
to the I-frame, the I-beam down there, that is there. It has a stretch fracture on it. And
Who made the decision to close it?
TxDOT.
Yeah, when that,
Well, the guy that was out there when Mike and I was out there, he said he didn't know why it was closed.
TxDOT, Jason Scantlin, and Chris and the others recommended that it be closed, and the two commissioners that also agreed, and so we shut it down until, the big thing is that cable, stretch that cable on the side, that handrail cable, and it is stretched, it's about a 2-foot stretch in it. So if you grab the top of it and hang on to it, it won't hold you up. You could go tumbling over. So that cable has to be redone. So it's more of a safety issue on the handrail cable than it is actually on the structure of the bridge, in my opinion. So,
Well, yeah, there's a post there that has to be replaced that holds those two,
and you have to take that whole,
but that's gonna have to be, I mean, I
you
don't
have
know.
to take the whole cable off and replace the hose.
That's all thing I saw.
And to take the cable off, you have to put a new cable on. You can't use the old one unless you splice it.
But I didn't know TxDOT had the authority to close a bridge in a county. unless-
So, the thing of it is, if TxDOT closes it and makes that recommendation on this bridge, then they're usually responsible for paying for it to fix it.
I thought,
If we make that recommendation and we do it, then it's our responsibility to pay for it and have it fixed. The county's.
I thought they had the individual that ran over it and he had insurance.
He
on it.
has insurance, but that, the way I understand that doesn't carry a lot of weight is what, depending on his insurance.
Yeah, the minimum insurance standards for driver's license, I think, are either $10,000 or $25,000 of liability, and that could be a drop in the bucket.
If TxDOT recommends the bridge be closed, you better close it.
Yeah.
Just because of liability.
That's when I asked who closed it. I mean,
Their recommendation, they come from, directly from Jason Scantlin at the TxDOT office, and he said close it. So both of us commissioners got together, we got out there and looked at it. TxDOT was out there, and
'cause I knew that's what I thought had the authority was the commissioner for that precinct to close it. That's my understanding.
the two commissioners have to get together to close it on each
Well,
side.
since it's a joint, yeah, since it's.
Because you can't close one side and not close the other.
Okay, so TxDOT recommended it, and you on our side and the San Saba County Commissioners agreed to the closure, and y'all physically closed it.
Closed it until we get a recommendation from the TxDOT, from their engineers.
That it's either structurally sound or
If it's just that
After it's
cable
repaired.
on the side, that's all that has to be redone, and it'll be left to the counties to redo it. It is on San Saba's side of the river, by about like 6 foot. But if they take that cable off, we're gonna have to work together, because the bridge will be shut down to redo that cable, so. You can't take, and it's not gonna be a one-day fix. It's gonna be-
You have any time frame?
No. If no one takes out, it could be a year. I was out there Friday and there was 2 different people flying drones, one on the side of the bridge. I do not know, there was a TxDOT truck on the other side, so I'm guessing, I don't know, so maybe they're trying to get a view from underneath. I don't know how you get it. The only other way is to hang underneath it and with cables and look
You
at it.
could. I
I'm
know,
not.
day I went out and looked at it and said, I knew that there were a couple guys that'll do solar. And they'd driven down here just to drive across the bridge. You know, that's,
Oh, yeah, so in the cameras though, we're having about 15 people a day that are just going out there, to look at it. I didn't realize there was that many, but there's a lot of people, and most of them, are the retired age, that want to go out there and look at it.
They don't have nothing else to do.
They don't have a job, so that, but it is disappointing that it was destroyed. It's been on the Brownwood radio station, it's been on San Salvador's radio station, and
the only thing I hadn't heard was an accident.
I don't know. The gentleman called,
Then he turned himself in and called the sheriff's
he
office.
called the sheriff's office and said he had struck the bridge.
So,
But, in Jason Williams' opinion, there is no way that he was just doing 5 miles an hour to go across that bridge to bend that 1 inch. To make a banana in that 1 inch stabilizer. There's just no way. He had to be going pretty fast to bend that. And to slide 2 foot on the top. So I think he was going a lot faster than,
Is that the only suspension bridge left in
it's
Texas?
the only one that you can use.
That's what the DeSoto people have asked me, and I didn't realize that or told me.
There's people that live in San Saba County that have land in Mills County and that come across that bridge every day. It's a 40 to 50 mile commute now to get over there where it wasn't that way. But as TxDOT was out there and the commissioners from San Saba and one of those ranchers come across it with a bunch of round bells coming across that bridge. And you're not supposed to, so.
because of a weight limit.
Yes, because of the weight limit.
I didn't even notice any weight limit signs.
There's weight limit signs at the highways, there's weight limit signs before you get to the bridge and at the intersection on our side. I don't know about San Saba.
I know the rock haulers pay a lot of attention to that.
They do pay a lot of attention to that stuff.
Anything else?
Thanks, Jason.
Nope, that's it.
Okay, judges report, just two things. We've had an ad in the Eagle for the court coordinator position. Got a couple of applications. I'll be interviewing this week. Hope to get something done next week. And on the COVID front, it's been a couple of 3 or 4 days now with no new cases in Mills County. But just to give you the statistics, we have 30 active cases, 16 probables, and 55 recovered cases here in the county. And that's it. There being no further business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
And second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye, quick before everybody leaves. We're adjourned.